Hi, I'm Anna Maria and welcome back to my channel. Alemtuzumab, also known by its brand name Lemtrada, is one of 15 disease-modifying therapies available to treat MS in the UK today. Whilst there is currently no cure for MS, a disease-modifying therapy can help to limit the number of relapses you have and the severity of these. How disease-modifying therapies will accomplish this will differ from drug to drug, as do their success rates, but most of them work by suppressing the immune system, which is believed to be mistakenly attacking the coating of the nerves in the brain and or your spine, aka the myelin sheath in your central nervous system. There are three categories of disease-modifying therapy: moderate, good and high, depending on how well they work. And Alemtuzumab is classed as having a high effect on MS. Alemtuzumab is one of the most impactful disease-modifying therapies on the market because of how it works. It's actually a chemotherapy or cancer drug, and what this means is, simplistically, is that it helps to destroy cells in the body. Not all chemotherapy works in the same way, of course, but in this case, Alemtuzumab attached itself to your lymphocytes or your T and B cells, which form part of your immune system. And when attached, it mimics an antibody, and this serves as a flag or signal to attract destruction by other disease-fighting cells in the body. So what it cleverly does is trick your immune system into destroying part of itself. Alemtuzumab was originally developed to help treat B-cell chronic lymphocytic leukemia, a type of cancer where there are too many lymphocytes in the blood and bone marrow. In MS, there aren't too many lymphocytes. You have the right amount, but they are working against you. So by destroying them, you are in effect rebooting your immune system in the hopes that it regrows to a healthier one. Although it was used for a number of years to treat B-cell chronic lymphocytic leukemia, Alemtuzumab has only been used to treat relapsing and remitting MS on the NHS since 2014. And 5 years on, it's not without controversy. From 2014 to April 2019, Alemtuzumab was available to treat relapsing and remitting MS only if your MS was clearly active, despite you taking another less effective disease-modifying therapy. Active is generally taken to mean 2 or more relapses within the last 2 years, but some practitioners do use new lesions as evidence of new MS activity. And those would be your silent lesions, i.e. the ones that do not cause any obvious outward neurological symptoms. During this time period, there was also some leeway for practitioners to discretionarily prescribe Alemtuzumab as a first-line therapy to patients who had never tried another disease-modifying therapy. So, fast forward to April 2019, and the European Medicines Agency steps in to restrict the use of Alemtuzumab due to reports of rare but serious side effects, including death. It is now recommended that Alemtuzumab is only used to treat highly active relapsing and remitting MS, despite treatment with at least one other disease-modifying therapy, or if the MS is worsening rapidly, meaning you have had 2 disabling relapses in the last year and your MRI scans show signs of new activity. It can also no longer be used in patients with coexisting conditions that affect their heart, circulation, or who have other autoimmune disorders. I don't think it should come as a surprise that, just like all medication, Alemtuzumab comes with a long list of side effects, but because it's highly effective, the cost is also high in terms of risk. The most common serious side effect, affecting up to 4 out of 10 people, is a secondary autoimmune disorder affecting the thyroid, but there are much rarer, more life-threatening side effects, such as blood and kidney disorders that you should be aware of. Generally though, most people will only experience infusion-related reactions, which are typically mild and short-lived, and you'll be at greater risk of infection for the foreseeable future whilst your immune system rebuilds. Before you begin treatment, you will have to agree to commit to a 4-year period of monitoring, otherwise this drug is not for you. Then, to see if you're a good candidate, you'll undergo a series of tests, including blood tests, kidney and liver function tests, cervical screening for women, as well as a baseline MRI scan from which your consultant will compare all future MRIs. If you are a good candidate, Alemtuzumab will be given to you in hospital through an infusion or drip into a vein. Most people will only need 2 cycles of treatment spaced 12 months apart. The first cycle is always the longest and consists of 5 days of infusions. The second cycle is only 3 days long, and that's because your immune system is already compromised. Some people do need a 3rd or 4th round because their MS continues to be active, and in those cases, those cycles would only be 3 days long as well, with 12-month gaps. Before every cycle, you'll be expected to complete a week's course of antibiotics, and for 1 month, beginning from the first day of treatment, you will take antiviral medication. When you're at the hospital, this is what your treatment plan will look like. To begin with, you'll be given 2 paracetamols, an antihistamine injection, and a steroid infusion. You'll then be given a flush of sodium chloride. You'll then start your Alemtuzumab infusion, which will last 4 hours, and then a flush of sodium chloride for 2 hours. So you need to plan on spending around 8 hours in hospital, roughly. You'll be closely monitored by nurses during your infusions, who will regularly take observations of your vitals. I had my first cycle of Alemtuzumab in November 2018, and it's been a positive experience so far because I've stayed well and my MRI has been stable. A week ago, I finished my 2nd cycle as a daycare patient at Great Ormond Street Hospital in London, and I stayed at the Cotton Rooms, a UCLH charity patient facility, for 2 nights. In daycare, because I was sharing the room with a number of other patients, I was unable to record the entirety of my treatment, but I was able to check in from time to time so that you could get an idea of what the treatment is like, particularly when, for the most part, it's going smoothly. At the start of your cycle, you will have a cannula inserted into your non-dominant hand or arm. I chose to have mine removed at the end of each day because I am very squeamish and absolutely terrified of ripping it out by accident in my sleep. But you will obviously do whatever's most comfortable for you. Hey, so it's almost 4 o'clock and time to go home now. I've had my Lemtrada, I'm now on my flush, 2 hours of flush, which is sodium chloride. I felt pretty tired today, not gonna lie. Other than tiredness, I've had some pain in my left hand and arm where I had the cannula put in, but that subsided within about 2 hours. I've been able to eat and get about, talk to people. Generally, I've been okay. So I'm ready for day 2 tomorrow. I'll just finish my flush and have my cannula removed. Since coming to the hotel, I have noticed some stomach issues. Yeah, and it's not very nice. I mean, I've been able to eat dinner and keep it down. The main problem is runny stools. I'm hoping that this will subside with some sleep, but if it doesn't, I'll let the hospital know tomorrow morning and maybe they'll be able to give me something to settle my stomach. Hey, so it's now day 2 of my infusions. Just wanted to give you a quick update. I got to the hospital a little bit late actually. I arrived at 8:45 because I struggled to wake up this morning. I was wide awake from 4 a.m. and I got back to sleep at about 5, and then at 7 I just kept snoozing the alarm and my body ached, you know, so it took me a while to kind of get moving, but luckily when I arrived they were fine about it because my Lemtrada isn't released by the pharmacy until 9 a.m. anyway. So I got quickly started on having my cannula put back in and then having my peridone and steroids and then the flush, and then I'm now on the Lemtrada. So I just want to show you what it looks like, so how I'm hooked up to the medication, just so that you kind of know what to expect. So I'm connected to this. So this slowly drips down. It's very controlled, really slow release. So this takes 4 hours. I'm hooked up to this machine which controls the rate and everything. And then it comes out here along this and then into the cannula that's in my hand. So I'll just show you what that looks like. So I have to drag this thing around, push it around with me. But I mean, it's fine. It's not heavy or anything. It can sometimes get a little bit tricky when I'm going to make a cup of hot chocolate or coffee or something, and I might be carrying my coffee and hot chocolate, like the actual jar, as well. So I've got two things to hold on to, but I also need to somehow figure out how to push this. So it's a juggling act. But anyway, I better go because I'm in the toilet and I can hear somebody outside wanting to come in. Okay, so it's coming to the end of day 2 now, and I've got dinner in the oven and I'm getting ready to tuck myself into bed. I just wanted to let you know about something that happened earlier on. I had the same numbness and weakness in my left hand after the steroid infusion, and I'm guessing that's going to be a regular occurrence for me now. You know, my body just doesn't seem to like it. I had been feeling tired for better part of the day, but my mum came to visit at around midday, so I pushed myself to stay awake and obviously keep her company. I don't begrudge that at all. But then at around 3 o'clock I noticed that my breathing was a little bit laboured. My saturation levels on the machine were normal though all throughout the day, and your saturation levels are your oxygen levels, so my intake of oxygen was fine. It was just the practice of breathing was more difficult. Kind of akin to wheezing, but you couldn't hear me wheezing, but it felt like something was restricting my breath. I had been talking all day, which is fairly normal for me, and that's because I had some lovely company. So what the nurses did when I let them know about how I was feeling, they gave me some extra Paradon, and it seems to have worked because right now I'm breathing fine. But obviously I will monitor it over the night, and if anything changes I will call for an ambulance. Anyway, overall, so far so good. I'm positive about tomorrow. I'm looking forward to going home, spending time with my friends and family whom I love, and spending a lot of time with Netflix because I love Netflix too. But aside from that, I've got nothing else to say. And if you know me, that probably comes as a surprise. So I will go now and check in with you again tomorrow for my final day. Hey, so I've just arrived at the hospital. It's just gone 9 AM and I've let the nurses know that I'm not feeling well, and they might be getting a doctor to see me before I start. They also need to take my observations as well, so watch this space. I've perked up a bit. My stomach issues have settled, so I think the omeprazole, if that's how you say it, I think that's helped. I had a little snooze as well, so I've got my feet up. I'm just chilling, listening to music. The day is going pretty quickly for me now, and I'm feeling 10 times better than I was this morning, but I better run off because my battery's about to die. Hey, so it's nearing the end of the day now. I'm feeling gassy is the word that I'm looking for. I've been quite warm. I had a meeting with my consultant a little while ago and I got pretty hot in his office and I had to leave. He had 2 fans on me and the sweat patches under my arms were ridiculous. But aside from feeling really warm, my second worst symptom today has just been stomach gas. But generally, it's not that bad. I mean, you just get on with it, you know, you find a way to cope. But yeah, I'll be hopefully leaving here soon, waiting for my dad to pick me up. I returned home a little while ago. I just needed to catch my breath before I recorded. I've come back to the building to find that both of the lifts are out of order and I live on the 5th floor. So I've had to lug myself and my 2 hospital bags up 5 flights of stairs. Anyway, I'm going to make myself a hot drink. I'm already in bed, so I'm somewhat happy about that. Trouble is, the rash is beginning to surface. I don't know if you can see that, but it's beginning to surface around the face and my neck, so I'm expecting to wake up covered in it now. My left arm. Kind of looks like burn marks, doesn't it? And my right arm. So it's been a week and the rash has now subsided, yay! But I do have some complaints, mainly bone pain, which I've felt predominantly in my spine but all across my body. And that's because the bone marrow goes into overdrive after treatment in order to replace the lymphocytes that were lost. So bone pain is a good sign that my body is healing itself. Next, I would say my worst symptom is fatigue. And when I'm tired, my MS symptoms can play up, particularly my vision problems. Next to that, I've been getting headaches. I don't know if my headaches are a side effect in themselves or being caused because I'm struggling to see, or I'm getting headaches in conjunction with fatigue, and both of them are messing with my eyes. So yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle. I've also had some trouble sleeping, which obviously doesn't help the fatigue, and insomnia is listed as a possible side effect of both the Alemtuzumab and the steroids. I'm really hoping this is temporary. And finally, I am very sensitive to heat, which is something that I was struggling with during treatment as well. And that's me so far. All I've really tried to do this week is survive, so anything else I say here would just be filler. But would I do it all again? Of course. And that's because in my experience, I've seen a drastic improvement in my health, and I think my friends and family would agree. Until the next video, take care.